So what's the deal with the iPhone 15s? They've been out for 2 weeks and, well, here's my verdict. I like them. Physically, I like them. I've got 5 features that I'm going to cover ranked from meh to damn. And I've also got 3 things that I don't like as much about Apple's newest cash grab. Ready, Monty? Let's go. With the iPhone 15, Apple spent a good amount of time hyping the camera. Things like 7 lenses and increased megapixels for the main camera, which is all good and nice. Going from the normal iPhone 14s to the 15, you're definitely going to notice a big difference. Things like having a double optical zoom in your camera. And when you take photos, you get 24 megapixels with the main camera instead of 12. Now for me, being able to take higher resolution photos is awesome, but you kind of have to figure out which camera lens it goes with. Apple's marketing fluff when it comes to the camera is borderline criminal from my perspective. Another thing I like about the iPhone 15's camera is that when you take a normal photo, and the iPhone detects a human in it, it'll capture the depth information, which means you can adjust it post taking the photo. So basically anything you could do with portrait photos, you can kind of do with a normal photo. I think this feature needs a bit more refining, but it's awesome that it's there. Now for number 4, this applies more to the pros than the normal ones, and it has to do with the weight, because apparently the iPhone 15 has titanium or has started doing CrossFit. This iPhone 15 Pro Max is 19 grams lighter than this iPhone 14 Pro Max, which doesn't seem like a lot, but I bounce between using my 13 Pro Max, 14 Pro Max, and my 15 Pro Max, and I do notice a difference between those devices. Definitely not getting swole with the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Between the normals, these things, yeah, weight is like 1 gram difference. The weight difference would be like me trimming Monty's eyebrows off. Now the third feature I really do like about the iPhone 15s is when I have to do this. That is probably the most used feature on my Apple Watch. It's basically the gatekeeper for my iPhones. This feature called precision finding is just very useful because it allows me to find my iPhone that is sometimes out of earshots, like in my garage gym. And I know this is kind of specific to me because I run a lot of iPhones. I won't lie to you, there's an oddly satisfying sound about this. The second thing I like about the iPhone 15s is the finish on the product. As I said in my short, if you haven't touched an iPhone 15, you need to go touch an iPhone 15. I really enjoyed the form factor change from like the iPhone 6 to 11s to the 12. The sharper angles on the devices just makes, you know, everything a lot easier to deal with in my hand. But with the iPhone 15s, Apple added this like curve because after 3 years, you need to change the shape of your devices, right? But having these slightly more rounded edges on my iPhone 15s, it makes a world of difference in terms of handling. I didn't think I had a big opinion about the handling of the like 14 Pro Max, but going to the 15 Pro Max, it's like night and day. This feels so nice. This feels so chunky now. The final thing I'll mention is the actual finish. You have the glossy backs of the iPhone 14s, which were basically fingerprint magnets, and that's been replaced with this mint chocolate looking thing. Like, this feels so nice. Even between the Pro version, there's just a lot more texture on the newer iPhones than it is on the old ones. Sure, they'll break easier, but they feel nicer. Again, if you haven't, go to the Apple Store and just touch an iPhone 15. You'll thank me. Now, the number 1 feature that I absolutely love about my iPhone 15, and it's specifically for the Pro Max, is the removal of the mute switch. The action button, I absolutely adore. The action button on my Apple Watch Ultra seems more like a novelty. I do like it, but it's like a nice to have. Whereas in the action button on my iPhone 15 Pro Max is incredibly useful. On my action button, I'm currently rocking a submenu that brings up all the things that I use most during the day. And that's been really helpful because being able to add things here has allowed me to use my widgets a little more efficiently. Like seriously, awesome. Now, before we go check out the things I don't like about the iPhone 15, if this is the first time you're watching one of my videos, do hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, check out some of my other content. I've got a ton of top 5, top 10 videos for the best accessories for your expensive smart pocket computer. Okay, let's get into the things I don't like. Now, I generally don't have many complaints about Apple's products. I do have an issue with the Apple Watch Ultra 2 because it's just a dumpster fire of an upgrade. But the 3 things that annoy me about the iPhone 15s, one of them doesn't actually have to do with Apple, but let's get into it. Number 3 is the overheating. This thing gets warm. And I know it's been all over the news. I know everyone's talking about it, and Apple's saying it's a software issue, not a hardware issue. And I think they've just issued out a update, so hopefully that fixes it all. But it would be hilarious if it was actually a hardware issue and they had to recall it all, because that would be like, oh, like mind-blowing to me. That's a temporary thing, and I think it's just growing pains with the new device, but still, it's kind of annoying when you're like taking photos and you're like, man, I can feel like I can cook some eggs on this. Now, the second thing that's bothered me about the iPhone 15, and this is the non-Apple thing, is that I've committed to using my iPhone 15s without cases more. And the one thing that has been really bothering me are screen protectors. On the 12, 13, and 14s, you had these sharp edges, which meant that you could put a sharp screen protector and it wouldn't really be that noticeable. But with the freshly rounded corners of the iPhone 15, the sharp edge on the screen protector is very noticeable. Now this is me being very, very picky, but I really don't like it given just how nice this entire device feels without the screen protector. Now I'm really hoping that companies bring back their 3D screen protectors. You know, the ones for the iPhone 6 to 11 where they had like the rounded edges. They break way easier, but I think it would work really well for the iPhone 15s. All right, and the thing that bothers me the most about the iPhone 15s are the cameras. I really do feel Apple's like borderline misleading us when it comes to the cameras. As I said before, I do like the extra, hi Monty, extra megapixels from the main camera. Going from 12 megapixels to 24 megapixels is awesome because it's just more detail. But the thing that Apple is saying that the iPhone 15s have 7 lenses is just wrong. Because if I was to use a normal camera with 7 different lenses, my resolution would be the same across all my photos. There's only 3 lenses that get a bump in resolution, which are the 24mm, 28mm, and 32mm ones. So all of Apple's bravado about computational photography is just a really fancy way of cropping images. Your macro photos, your wide photos, your telephotos, they're still 12 megapixels. But here's the cherry on top of this just camera bullcrap. Is that on the regular iPhone 15s, with a 2x optical zoom, you get 24 megapixel photos and only 12 on the iPhone 14 Pro Maxes. Come on, Apple! So that's a quick rundown of what I think about the iPhone 15s after 2 weeks. I do like the devices, physically I said, but internally, the heat and the camera kerfuffles, you know, it just kind of leaves a mildly sour, bitter taste in my mouth about what Apple's doing. I'm a reviewer, not an influencer, so Apple's not paying me to make this review. I review a ton of accessories, so do check out some of that content if you're trying to figure out what the best MagSafe accessories are for your new device. Anyways, that's kind of all I got. What camera am I supposed to look at? Thanks for watching.